Hey, gun people. I'm going to talk about a topic that's coming up lately. I'm getting a few questions on whistleblower, and because people who have researched me has found kind of where I was involved in an incident where a DA, a dirty DA, was trying to hide evidence in a murder trial for a death penalty case, and I spoke out and kind of challenged the system. End up turning the guy into the state bar and all this, and it turned into a big fight. They tried to fire me and my lieutenant. So let me talk about whistle protection. I had a couple cops email me about how do you turn in a cop, or what happens when you turn in a cop, or if there is a bad, what. And I talk about this a lot in my videos. Cops are human. Okay, now I know cops are going to want to say, oh no, all cops are good. Well, that's not true. So there's some cops out there that don't do the right thing. They make mistakes. They have judgment lapse. They do things that they probably shouldn't do. They're only human. Okay? If you want to put somebody in a box, a group of people, either because they're a judge, because they're a politician, because they're a lawyer, because they're a doctor, it automatically means they're good. There's just so much proof out there that ain't true. They're humans, they're people, and they're going to do things that they shouldn't or that are wrong. And they have different values and morals. So, in my whistleblower case, and I did some research right before I did this because I kind of knew it was going to be a big fight. One attorney called me on the side and goes, "Dude, whistleblowers always get screwed." He goes, "Never does a whistleblower." I go, "Dude, how can I get screwed? I've got a stellar career in the military. I'm retired. I was a cop in the military. I got out. I got a stellar career here. I've been here for 15 years. I'm the senior investigator in the whole office. I have no negative documentation. I was sworn in as an FBI agent and a deputy U.S. Marshal." I said, "My lieutenant, who is the senior lieutenant, knows that everything I'm saying is true. Look, all we're doing is telling the truth. How can we get screwed?" He goes, "Dude, I'm telling you, whistleblowers always get screwed." He goes, "I don't care." So, being naive because I had never been through the process, I was like, you know what? They're going to believe us. We're cops. We got all this great background. I've been through the background for police agencies, for the Air Force, top secret clearance, FBI. I'm like, man, they ain't got nothing on me. I didn't do nothing wrong. Man, let me tell you, when you go against the government, you have no idea what they'll throw against you. It was every day I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? They can't do this. That's wrong. That's illegal. They're lying. It doesn't matter. Look, if you're going to be a whistleblower, you need to plan. And I did some planning. I kind of figured they were going to try and fire me, and I didn't think they would. They ended up firing me. I ended up winning my job back, and I didn't want to go back, so I ended up resigning. Of course, they played it off as I had to resign. I didn't have to resign. I won my court case. I could have went back to work. But I didn't want to go work for a dirty DA, and the smear process for a year was just brutal. And they went after my lieutenant because my lieutenant was backing me up. So they totally made us both out to be this crazy guy. And I had no idea, because you always hear this whistleblower protection. Oh, if you whistleblow, we'll give you protection. Man, let me tell you, that is a joke. If you're going to turn in or go against the system, you need to make all kind of plans. Do the best case, but you need to really have fallback plans. And the problem is nobody has money to go get an attorney to kind of advise you. As soon as when I turned in this dirty DA and I sent a letter to the state bar and to the attorney general to investigate it, thinking that I was a cop, an investigator at all these federal cases. I was an FBI agent, a U.S. Marshal, and I had all this background and shit. They'd say, okay, this guy probably has some credibility with. Man, as soon as my letter hit the state AG in California, somebody over there picked up the phone and called the DA that I turned in and goes, "Hey man, this guy just turned in a dirty letter on you." And next thing I know, the smear campaign started. So before I turned in the letter, no negative documentation, no nothing. I was a great guy. I was using all these cases. I was testifying a week Before they said I lied about all this about the DA, I was testifying in a murder trial for a CHP officer that was killed, and we ended up searching and finding a gun. I had to do a report on a gun that was found with my group, and I ended up testifying for the gun. So they couldn't smear me before that because they needed my campaign. So when I testified for that, I was a great guy, and I was, you know, a senior detective and all this other stuff. As soon as I turned in the DA, oh, he's lying, and we can't trust him, and it was... Look, whistleblower protection is a fallacy that if you can think of one person that's blown the whistle on the government and has come out good, let me know. Put it in the comments. Because there is no such thing as whistleblower protection. They say it's cool, and they want to give people the impression that, oh, we want a clean house, and we want to, you know, Serpico. They were calling me Serpico because I went against the blue line. I turned in other law enforcement. I mean, guys are like calling me, cops who were like, oh man, he's Serpico, he's turning us in, he broke the blue line. And the cops that knew me well and we were friends, they knew, hey man, this has been going on for a while. I saw it, I've been talking to people, so I'm good with what I did. But the way the press, and every once in a while somebody will be Googling my name, because on my horse channel, you know, I have 15 million views or whatever on videos, so people will research me a little bit, and they'll run across one of the press releases, propaganda releases and they'll say, oh look, he lied, oh look people, I testified, I did a letter against the DA, everything in that letter was true. I testified in open court, swore under oath that everything in the letter was true. I said I would take a polygraph. Of course they didn't want me to take a polygraph, because if I took it and passed, then they would have to take one, or they would have to say, oh, the polygraph's no good, it's not admissible in court. Because the polygraph is it's always used, you know. You have to take a polygraph to become a cop, and you have to pass that, but they won't use it for, if you're going against the government, to prove that the government's wrong. So anyway, I mean, the gist of, and I'll do another video, because it's kind of, I mean, this was a year process, the things that happened were crazy. So I'll do another video kind of just on that dirty DA, Jeff Risey in YOLO. He's still out there. So I'll do another video on that. But as far as whistleblower protection, it doesn't really exist. I mean, the only thing you have to go on is you can do the right thing, you get your facts in line, and you be prepared that they're going to try and smear you and discredit you. Remember, when press releases, a lot of people don't understand how press releases are done. When things hit the newspaper, it's not because the newspaper went out and investigated and asked questions and interviewed people. That's not how press releases are done. I used to write press releases for the district attorney. And a lot of people did. If I was working a case and I wanted to get good press for the DA, this is for the previous DA, not the lying scum that's there now, but the previous DA, when I would do a case to make him look good and to show that our office, I would write a thing, we just solved this case, you know, I'd put some feel-good stuff in, like, we want to thank the cooperating agencies, and I'd name a couple agencies, and you know, the inter-cooperation between interagency investigation resulted in this great thing, and the DA said this is one of the finest jobs that was done, and then we'd give it to the DA, and the DA would go, okay, yeah, send it out. Do you really think somebody's going to write up a press release for their boss and say, man, this case had a lot of problems, and you know, there wasn't a lot of cooperation, and we missed a lot of things, and a couple guys got away, and you're going to send that up to the DA, and he's going to go, oh yeah, send that to the press. It just doesn't happen. So a lot of people think what they read in the newspaper is like, oh, this is a good, the press wouldn't lie to us. The press only gets what the government gives them. During my big case for the year, me and my lieutenant, when they were trying to sue us, and they were, or not sue us, but when they fired us, they ended up firing us after they tried to smear us a little bit so they could get some information to fire us, and then make us fight to get our job back, because it's easy to fire somebody. The burden of proof is on us. Well, luckily in California, we have a pretty good union, and we had free attorneys, and you know, our attorneys, you know, probably spent $100,000 on our defense, but we had paid into it every year. So we were lucky. A lot of people who whistleblow don't have that attorney protection. So you're going to be on your own. I mean, the press release is a joke, and what you read in a paper is the government side of the person that does it. If I would send during this thing, the DA would make this false press release, oh, he's lied, oh, we're investigating and we're doing that. And when I would reply, the press wouldn't print it. Because I was nobody. I was the guy on the outside, and I could not help them. Remember, the press has to have a relationship with the government agencies that they're getting information from. And if I make you look bad, or I help other people make you look bad, you're not going to be cooperative with me. If a newspaper pissed off the DA that's there now, if a newspaper pisses off and prints things that he don't like, he doesn't send them press releases. So when he sends these other people things, they get to print it, people read it, go, oh, the DA's office prosecuted this case. Oh, this was pretty good. And those papers are like, man, we want to keep getting this information because we have the scoop. And the guys that printed bad stuff about him, they don't get those press releases. They're taken off the little... When we send out a press release, there's a list on who gets it. And if you piss off the DA, your name goes off the list, and now only other news medias get it. So you're kind of out of the loop, so you don't get the information. And information is what newspapers want. They don't care if it's true. They just want to be able to print something. So, I mean, there's all kind of politics that go in when you go against the government. But, you know, if you read some of the stats and you read some of the things, I mean, again, I'll cover this in a little bit more detail in the second video, but whistleblower protection only gives you minimal protection so they can say, hey, you can't fire them and you got to prove it. So you can't say with whistleblower protection, if you blow the whistle, your agency, your company, whatever, they can't fire you because of the whistleblower action. But that doesn't stop them from going on this searching smear campaign to find the lightest thing. I mean, they were interviewing girlfriends for 4 years ago on me, trying to say, did he ever hit you? Did he ever get aggressive? I mean, they were looking at my lieutenant, man. They went to a class where he was teaching at the academy because he was one of the senior instructors. They went to ex-students and tried to find girls, say, hey, was he sexually inappropriate? Did he try to make a pass? I mean, they were... I remember the investigator, one of my bosses who I worked with in the Air Force called me and goes, dude, what's going on? Some investigator just called, said they're doing a criminal investigation on you, and they want to know anything that I ever did wrong when I was in Air Force, and if I was a bad troop. And I, you know, he goes, I told him, no, he was a good troop. He did a great job. He was one of our best. And he goes, he got pissed off because I wouldn't tell him anything bad, and he hung up on me. So when an agency goes after you, all they have to do is get hints. So they're not going to say, we fired you because you turned us in on a whistleblower action. They're going to say we fired you because we found a pen in your desk that was government property you shouldn't have. Or we found that you printed something at home and you didn't. I mean, the things that they went after, you have no idea. Me and my lieutenant, we still talk about this. He goes, man, these people have no idea what it really means when you say you have the full force of the U.S. government against you. Because when you whistleblow against the government, and Snowden, I know, man, I feel so sorry for the guy, because it's just, when you whistleblow, they do this kind of dehumanizing, almost like Hitler, when Hitler in the death camps for the Jews, they stripped them down naked, they shaved their heads, and they made them wear the same clothes, they dehumanized, they gave them numbers, they tattooed them. All of that was to dehumanize them so they're not looked at as a person, because people have a problem doing something. It's psychological against another person, but if you can kind of make them the enemy or no good or evil or something, or just kind of take away their face, terrorists will put masks over their victims so they don't get connected, so you don't have that Stockholm Syndrome. I think I have a video on the Stockholm Syndrome, or you can Wikipedia or whatever. The Stockholm Syndrome, you don't want that to connect and you don't want that to happen, so you cover your victim's face so you don't have to look at them. And it's a dehumanizing process. When this whistleblower action happens with cops, if you're a cop and you go against the agency and you turn somebody in, there's this immediate, we seize your badge and gun. We relieve you of duty. We take away your police powers. Okay? Then we tell everybody, you're under investigation, you can't talk about it. So nobody is allowed to talk to you. So as a cop, when they investigate you, they will tell all the other cops, so you lose all your friends and all your support, because everybody's scared to talk, because if they talk, then they're going to get investigated for violating an order of talking to you when you're under investigation. So, and it's just go, you know, they went through my phone records and they started contacting everybody that I called and said, what'd you talk about? What did you do? What did he say this? Did he mention this? I mean, it was, I had no idea. I bet they spent over $500,000 of taxpayer money trying to find dirt on me and my lieutenant just to make this DA not look bad. And then I talked to an investigator up at the state who was like, hey, we were going to investigate it, but if we find this DA dirty, then every case he's prosecuted is going to be appealed and they're going to have to come. So the government will always protect the government. The government has no, I mean, if a state government goes after a county or local government, they're still spending taxpayer money. I mean, they're spending taxpayer lawyers to go after this. This city or county has taxpayer lawyers to fight them, and it's a legal battle, and the law is such a joke. Once you get up there, it's all about appeals and who's got the most money and who can spend the longest. And since governments have taxpayer money, there's really no winner when the government goes against each other. That's why you don't see the government shutting down other governments and taking out dirty politics. Every once in a while, you'll see something. They'll throw a bone to the people about investigation they found. But it's just not realistic for the government to fight the government because it's still taxpayer money and they both got unlimited funds because they'll just raise taxes and take more money, and they have attorneys on staff so the attorneys can fight and file appeal. So, I mean, whistleblower protection, I think it's a joke. It's not going to help you if you think that you're going to do the right thing and turn somebody in and whistleblower protection is going to save you. Man, it don't work. Believe me. I'm telling you firsthand. And if you look around, every person that's ever whistleblown on somebody always turns out to be the bad person. I mean, Monica Lewinsky, she was a young kid, President of the United States. Sure, she gave him head in the Oval Office. Maybe she didn't have a last judgment. She was a young kid. She was impressed by his power, and she got attached to him. I mean, he was the one that did everything. He was married. He's the one that did all the bad things. And man, they smeared her as, why did she save the dress? She's sick. If she didn't have that dress with DNA, they would still be calling her a liar. She made it up, false accusations, this and that. But she had proof. In my case, a lot of the things that we had, it was just me and the lieutenant who had it, and they said that wasn't proof. When we went to court and we were testifying, they were like, oh yeah, you said it, but we're looking at the DA and he says it didn't happen. So where's your proof? So without audio proof, if I didn't tape record, I mean, I even had emails from the DA that corroborated what I said, and the DA sat there when he testified. I was like, I don't remember sending this email. This email don't look familiar. And my attorney's like, well, is that your email address? Did you send it? And that crooked ass lying DA just sat there drinking his water, sweating. He's drinking his water, looking around, wouldn't look anybody in the eye, doing all the things when somebody's lying. All he kept, I don't remember. I have no recollection. No, I don't. I mean, it was just, if a cop testified like that DA testified during my case, the judge would throw him out and go, man, you're lying. You couldn't even keep... And again, we're talking, a lot of my case was civil, so it wasn't criminal, it was civil. They tried to go criminal, but it was civil. So they're going to try, and the other thing about whistleblowers is you'll always notice in government, when somebody turns in something or something bad's about to break, there's always a criminal investigation leaked that there's a criminal investigation. That's the first clue that the government is trying to cover their tracks and make this person seem discredible. He's under criminal investigation, so pretty much everybody kind of backs up and goes, oh man, he's being criminal investigated. He's doing this just because he got caught. And that's all they need. I mean, that little piece of information causes most people to go, he's under criminal investigation. He's just doing it. So anytime you hear the government say we're starting a criminal investigation, first of all, when you ask them about the criminal investigation, they go, oh, we can't talk about it. That's confidential. Well, how the hell did it get out that there was an investigation? Because they wanted it to get out. So, look, whistleblower protection is a joke in my book. If you're going against, if you're a cop and you're about to turn into a cop, or if you're in any situation where you think you're going to blow the whistle, I mean, if you want to email me, I'll be more than happy to discuss it with you. But from my experience, don't plan on whistleblower protection protecting you. Because the smear campaign and the ways that they can get around that, all they have to do is say, hey, oh, no. We appreciate that he whistleblowed. We want to know what's going on. We thank him for that. But we fired him because of this. And that's all they need. So, you know, I've gotten a few emails, and there was a court case where they just appealed one of my decisions that I won. Of course, they don't say that. They don't say that I won the decision, and they appealed it because they had money, and it would have cost me a bunch of money to fight them. So I was like, screw you, if you want to appeal it, go. I'm not going to file. I'm not going to pay another attorney, spend all the money that you paid me in a settlement to fight this, because it ain't worth it. Well, unfortunately, they got to write up their little thing, gave it to think, so now they just put it out, a new press release about, oh, how does this case affect you? And it says I made false statements, or I admitted to making false statements. Unfortunately, because I didn't pay the money to have an attorney to give my side isn't there, so people are emailing me, say, hey man, did you admit to giving false statements? I go, man, I never admitted to giving anything false. I said, I couldn't prove. I said, I ended up signing some stinking letter to get a settlement to get out of there, because that was part of the settlement, but I said, I never admitted to anything being false. I testified in open court under oath that my letter was true. And if you don't think they would have came after me for perjury if they could prove that I was lying, come on. I mean, anybody with a brain would know, look, if they're going to spend all this money on appeals and give me and this lieutenant settlements and go, if they couldn't get us for a crime of lying, if they wouldn't have, come on, man. Come and get me. I mean, give me a break. My letter was true and accurate. I know it was, but I couldn't prove a lot of it. So I ended up doing this letter that the attorneys wrote up. Said, hey man, they got to save some face. We'll do up this letter. It doesn't say you lied. It doesn't say, it just says that you made accusations that weren't true, that you couldn't prove. But you have to read the fine print. But I never admitted to lying. I never admitted to saying I made false statements. I'm not admitting it now, and I can't admit it because then they could come after me after perjury. I mean, even if I did lie, you can't do that because the system, I mean, now, the DA never got on the stand and raised his hand and said I didn't do this. He never swore under oath. When he swore under oath in my civil trial, it was, I don't remember, I have no recollection, I can't. But of course, none of that's out. They're not going to do a press release on that. So, I've been getting a lot of questions since this new press release. So I said, you know what, let me cover whistleblower protection, then I'll do another video kind of describing a little bit on the case, on how it started, how it went, and give you an idea on kind of how much heat they can put on you and what I went through and what my lieutenant went through. So, whistleblower protection, good luck. It sounds nice, but it ain't going to save your bacon. All right, we'll end that there.